All right, guys, welcome to Wismo Technologies. This is Mallikarjun here. In this today's session, I'm going to quickly demonstrate on how you can add the Rack database into Clusterware. All right, so quickly jump onto my lab environment here. I have already had a setup of two-node Rack cluster. I can quickly verify. Right now, my ASM1 is running under this node 1, and my ASM2 is running under this node 2. I can quickly verify uh, my cluster nodes by setting the environment to my ASM or the clusterware or the grid infrastructure. You can do env grep. After setting this .env to plus ASM1, you can verify env grep vora, which would tell us all the environmental variable which are correctly pointing to my grid infrastructure or the ASM environment. So you can do quickly OLS nodes. That's going to tell you what are the cluster nodes. Right now, these are the node 1 and node 2. Though two nodes are the part of my this two node rack cluster. So what I did uh, in this today's demonstration, I'm gonna add rack database to clusterware. So if I can quickly do crSCTL stat resource -t, that's gonna tell us what are the cluster resource are added to this cluster and what are the database and services are added to this cluster. Listener is added and local listener, database listener, grid listener, and this network, ONS, and ASM net listener, your data disk group, your scan listeners, and your management database listener, your record disk group, your ASM instance, and your net ASM network network, your the database which is offline. Again, one more database which is offline, and your node VIPs and your rack database which is online here and your scan VIPs. So most of them are registered here, but what I'm gonna do demonstration today is adding your rack database to clusterware. Right now I have created a database CDBDB manually using RMN backup. I cloned it. I configured this as a rack database, and this is currently configured in both the node 1 and node 2, meaning which is currently available in ASM storage. That's one of the scenario. After manually do RMN clone, you have to add that rack database to cluster using SRCTL. Or mistakenly, one of the junior DB or somebody has removed this database from the clusterware, which is already configured in the cluster, and they removed it mistakenly by wrong command, and in those scenario you have to re-add those database back to cluster. Right now quickly verify them. If I do log into Oracle user and set the environment to cdb1 env grep capital vara, and if I do srvctl status database -d cdb database, which says cdbdb does not exist in the cluster. Same thing goes from your second node as well. If I try to set it to CDB DB2 instance and CDB DB Oracle base Oracle home, if I try to do SRCTL status, again you're going to tell the same thing. CDB DB does not exist in the cluster. So what I can do, I can quickly set back to my ASM. So quickly take a look on that. ASM CMD-P. So I have this plus data disk group. Inside that data, I have this CDBDB. All the data files for that CDBDB are all located here. Under the CDBDB, I have multiple PDBs and control file, data file, unread log files, parameter file, password file. Many things are located over here. I can quickly go to my parameter file and then I can check. This is my SP file, which is located under this shared location. So I'm going to do this srctl add database -d cdb name -n database unique name -o, that's my parameter, my Oracle home, -p, that is my parameter file, that's a SP file which is located under ASM disk group. That's a data CDB parameter file, SP file 470.1148238013. 8013. So that's my parameter file. -T shutdown option, immediate. -A, the data and record are the part of this database. All my data files and archlogs all are located under this data and record. So as I showed you here, my data disk group has all my PDBs, control file, data file, online log file, parameter file, password file, and all those things. If I can go to my reco, CDB, so LSF and LTR. So I have again archive log file, control file, and other files here. So with that, I'm gonna come out of this. I'm gonna set the environment back to CDB1. You can add this database to cluster from any of the cluster node. Right now I'm at node 1. I set the environment. I exported all the environment pointing to CDB1 instance. I'm gonna quickly go and then do this srctl add database, which is gonna add to my cluster where I can go to second node. I'll set the environment to plus ASM so that I no need to set again and again. I can do srctl stat resource -t. So now I have added my CDB database, and right now nothing is running, nothing is configured. So after that, now I'm going to do add instances. I'm going to add srctl add database. Right now, if I say srvctl config database -d cdb, right now it says number of instances null, number of configured nodes is null. So this is a empty rack database which is just added to data cluster, and it does not have any nodes and it does not have any instances configured. So now I'm going to do add rack database instances, like srctl add instance for this rack database -i instance 1 on node 1, and srctl add instance -d database name -i instance name, that's the cdb2 on node 2. These are the two rack instances. I'm going to add it. And now you can go and then do one more time, say acetyl stat resource. And now a CDB DB again, still nothing, not started, but still configured. Now you can do this srctl config database. And this time it says database instance configured at CDB1 and CDB2, which are configured on node 1 and node 2. Fair enough. And now I can check the configuration. Already I checked this configuration. Now I can check and start. I can initially check the status, which should not be running, CDB1 and CDB2, which is not running. I'm going to do start database. So now your database instance are getting started on both the nodes. The CDB1 will start on node 1, CDB2 will start on node 2. You can verify using the alert log. Locate, I'm from the second node, locate alert underscore CDB2 dot log. This is the alert log. You can tail for time being, and it is getting started here. It's already started here. My command got completed. I can check the status. CDB1, CDB2. Right now it is both running node 1 and node 2. Again, I can go back to second node here. I can check the crctl stat resource -t. And this time if I see my CDB instance 1 and instance 2, online, 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 node 1 and node 2, open and open. My CDB1 and CDB2 both instance are up and running on both the nodes. So if needed, you can go and then stop the rack database and remove it from the cluster again. So if I try to remove it now, it's gonna fail, saying that your database is up and running, you cannot remove it, which is running. So you can first start the database. Sorry, if you can first you can stop the database, and once the database is stopped, you can able to remove that database from the rack cluster. So let it get stopped, and then I can remove it. So there's a one more you can do, um, disable auto startup for the RAG database. So whenever um, your cluster where reboots, you stop and start cluster where your database will be automatically get started. So you can do SRCTL disable database, which is going to disable your auto startup. Enable database, which is going to enable your auto startup. So the moment you stop your cluster, it's going to stop. It's not going to, if you disable your auto startup, your database will not be automatically started along with your cluster startup. And it has to be always in enable mode. Whenever you do any cluster level patching or OS level patching or some network administration or maintenance activity, that time you have to disable your database, SRCTL disable database, so that your database will not be automatically started along with your cluster. As part of your OS reboot or as part of your clusterware patching, your cluster will go for multiple reboot. So we don't want database to be automatically get started along with the cluster. So SRCTL stop database, we stopped it. Now we can try to remove. It will be allow you to remove from the clusterware. Do you want to remove the CDB database from cluster? Yes. Now we can go back here. Now you can check CTF stat resource. Your CDB database is gone now from the clusterware. Right. So that's a quick demo for the how you can add manually RAG database using your SRCTL. All right. That's it for today's demonstration. Let's get connected on the next session with the next topic. Thank you.